Welcome to It's All About the Questions, where learning to ask the right questions can help you achieve lifelong success. Now, here to help you ask all the right questions is award-winning author, international speaker, and business strategist, Laura Stewart.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone, and welcome to the show. And my opening of good morning, afternoon, evening has even more impact today because my guest is calling in from Switzerland. And it is definitely a different time of the day than it is here in Florida this morning. And I love that about this show, that I'm able to bring you people from all over the world and that people listen to this show from all over the world. It's such a beautiful thing to look at my rankings and where things are, but most of all, it's less about the rankings for me and more about what you're saying about the show and how it helped you shift your perceptions about something that you've been living, feeling, being, doing, and now you're thinking differently about it. I love hearing those stories about how one of my guests changed their lives with a question that they posed or an answer that they gave to a question that I asked. And today is going to be no different, I believe, because I've got my wonderful guest, as I said, calling in from Switzerland, introduced to me by Lisa Peterson, another fantastic guest and friend of mine that I've had on several times on the show. Got Sarah Santacroce in the house. Well, actually on the phone, not quite in the house. Right, Sarah?
I wish I was there with you. Yes.
I tell you, I wish I was with you in Switzerland right now. I love that country. It is so beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, it's 5 p.m. over here, so we have about 6 hours between us. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And, you know, it's funny how 6 hours doesn't seem like it's that much of a time difference, but it really can be a major difference for people. And, you know, we're going to be talking a lot about marketing today, but time differences really are more than just about time, aren't they? They also are about how people perceive things. Is that correct?
That's an interesting thought. I often say, with all the changes that we are able to make with technology and connecting over, continents and things like that, well, the one thing that we'll never, or at least I think we won't be able to change for quite a few more years is the time differences, because right now it's okay, we have 6 hours, but sometimes it's just, in the middle of the night. If your show was later in the evening, I don't know if I would have gotten up at 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. for being on the show. So, it's an interesting thought about the perceptions as well.
Right, and not only that, but when you think of you're in Switzerland, so culturally, there are a lot of differences about time in Switzerland than they are in America. Mm-hmm. America seems to be a 24/7, 365 country in a lot of ways, but then you get over to Europe, and that personal time becomes more important, that your end of your business day ends at a certain time.
I like that. I like that you have this knowledge about different cultures, really, because that is so true. And having lived, I'm born and raised in Switzerland, but we have lived for 4 years in California, and my husband is Canadian, so I work with people from all over the world. And yes, there's definitely different ways we do business, different ways we look at life, different definitions of success. Even I talk a lot about the definition of success, also when it comes to how we market, and very different perspectives in terms of how, for example, in a week, we're going to Sicily, where we have a place, and it's kind of my happy place. And there, I often joke, I turn into Italian Sarah. And I don't know if you've ever been to Italy, but this image that we all have of Italy being just a dolce vita, and what matters is food and sunshine and do nothing. And not that they don't do anything, but it's true. They have a complete different perspective on life and what matters in life. And so, it's very interesting that you bring that up.
Italy is my happy place as well. It's one of my dreams is to spend 3 or 4 months in Italy, living there and traveling around and just absorbing that culture, because it is so different. And when I was in Switzerland, I noticed it was different. In France, it's different. In England, it's different. That is, to me, so critical a component, that idea that you said about definitions of success are different. But if you're marketing to people that are international, do you need to change the way you're marketing for each country, or is it one size fits all?
I don't think one size fits all. I'm actually often, since people see my marketing over here, I have often been criticized of kind of being too American, right? Even though I'm 100% Swiss, but it's kind of like, you're a bit too pushy, and it comes over as a bit, too much. So yeah, the marketing over here, maybe things are changing as well, but it's definitely always been very, toned down. Like, let's not overdo things, and some of the really the hypey stuff that definitely to me comes a lot of times from the U.S. And so yeah, it really, if you take the British audience, they're almost allergic to too much Americanism in the marketing and all of that. So yeah, it's definitely a cultural thing also, I would say.
So outside of the U.S., you don't want to do things like, but wait, there's more. Only the first 10 people will get this offer. The offer expires in 5 minutes, right? That's such a big thing over here. I hate it.
Yeah, I think people will see right through it and just go, yeah, right. Are you sure? This is, is this for real? Is this really expiring? Or, yeah, obviously people are probably smart enough to know that that's just a marketing hype.
Okay, but it's been so successful for so long. Why don't people see through it? What is it about that kind of marketing that gets people to pull the trigger and go, yes, I want that. I have to have that. What is that appealing to, and why does that not work so much in other parts of the world?
Because it triggers certain fears, and it triggers this scarcity thinking, right? Oh my God, maybe, really it's the last time it's going to be offered at that price, and so I better buy it now because tomorrow it's going to be $200 more. And that's, it has worked for the longest time, and I think to a certain extent it still works. If you think about, I think it was even you who brought that up, Laura, in the malls, shopping centers, whenever there's a sale, well, we tend to buy more because there is a sale. So in a way, sales and discounts have always worked. And so it triggers certain fears of missing out, and whenever there's an urgency, it's just a human reaction to want to instantly buy right now.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with a retail store here in the United States called J.C. Penney's.
Yes.
Okay, so I know you lived in California for a while. So J.C. Penney was having a struggle. They were losing buyers, and a new CEO came in, and he decided to get rid of all of these coupons, and that you could layer coupons and things like that, and then shift the marketing towards a more millennial crowd versus the 40, 50, 60-year-old people, the women that were buying it. And they would go in and they'd buy stuff for their kids and whatever, but that was like the primary market. And they tried to shift it, and they alienated all of their market and didn't get this other market because their brand wasn't the brand for that market. And they eventually had to bring back the coupons, and people kind of came back, but not really.
Yeah, wow, what a disaster. So yeah, the brand clearly was established for the bargain hunters, right? And so it was, I don't know, kind of a strange branding decision to completely go the opposite, and then even worse, wanting to go back. So yeah, I can see that being very difficult. But you're right, it's a generational thing as well, I think. So, talking about the 50, 60-year-olds, and then the millennials now, I think it's whatever is still working with the fear of missing out and the urgency and kind of the hypey stuff. It's with the older generation, so the 40, 50, 60 years old. Millennials, they cannot be bothered. They see right through it. They're really done with ads. Whenever the brand doesn't relate to some kind of purpose or story or values, you completely lose them with that kind of hypey marketing. So it definitely has to do with different generations, and maybe the older generation, we grew up with it. And so it's kind of like it almost doesn't bother us as much anymore because it's always been there, where the millennials, they're like, what is that? Like, don't talk to me like that almost. So I think it really has to do with generations as well.
Yet I still see so many emails come through my inbox or across my web feeds of people doing this hype marketing, this idea of fear of missing out, the idea of we need to push this and send 20 emails in 2 days because you have to touch people like 7 times before they'll even pay attention to you. So we have to inundate them. It's still happening, but I just delete this stuff now. So can you, because I know this is one of the things you're an expert at, Sarah. You're an expert at getting people to learn a gentler form of marketing to make it more human connected. Can you describe what has been working for people and is now not, and how that can begin to shift because the world's changing? They're getting annoyed at that constant barrage.
Yeah. I think it really, and it's not just marketing, Laura, right? It's like we're at this turning point in many things. Politics, we see it all over the world. There's just something that is going to have to break in order for something new to come out. And it's the same thing with marketing. People are like, enough is enough, don't treat us like, we are not smart enough to see through that kind of hype. So I think that's really what's going on, and it's visible in marketing, it's visible in sales, it's visible in politics. So on so many levels, I think people are just ready for something new, a new paradigm. And
but not everybody is.
Not everybody is, no, because the current situation needs to be so bad, and that's what needed to happen for me. It needed to be so bad, even though things are working to some extent, right? I created a business, sometimes completely losing myself in this online marketing hype and, wearing this marketing mask. I won't say that I used, the typical fear of missing out, but oftentimes I questioned, the techniques that I used myself because that's what was available out there. And it's almost like that's what I thought just needs to be done if you want to have an online business, right? It was never the gentle marketers that made their programs available or that said, look, this works as well. It was always the loudest marketers, the gurus that kind of said, here's my recipe for success on how to create a 7-figure business, right? Follow these steps and then send out 20 emails on launch day, send out an email every half hour that the cart is closing and, the type of emails, right?
Right, I guess still.
Yeah, exactly. And so it needs, I'm not saying that has ended, but we're in the process of getting to that tipping point. Because if, like a couple of years ago, you and I didn't have this conversation. So the fact that we're having this conversation now is that there's other people just like us thinking, yes, it's enough with that. So let's find out other ways of marketing. And so you asked for, some examples of of what has worked in the past. So what has worked in the past is those kind of hypey marketing techniques where there was some kind of, not always aggressive, but some kind of manipulation. A lot of the gurus, they called it persuasion, right? That's a better word for manipulation. And a lot of times it was only focusing on the customer's pain. That's what we were taught in every kind of marketing program that I ever took. It was like, talk about your customer's pain and talk about how, right now they're really suffering and they have this big giant problem and they're basically not good enough. They're not thin enough. They're not successful enough. They're not healthy enough. I don't know, not spiritual enough. So all of these things that made them not good enough, not feel good enough. And so it made them feel so bad that they absolutely needed your program right now. So that's the kind of manipulation, and it was always focusing on this fear of missing out, because the focus was not so much on the outcome, but more on the struggle that they're in. And so if we reframe that and then say, okay, well, how would a gentler marketing work? Obviously, I'm not saying, let's just all be, happy and just talk about butterflies and rainbows and not sell anymore. What I'm saying is, rather than talking so much about the pain, we're going to really apply much more empathy about the client's situation now, and we're still going to address it, but without making them feel so bad about themselves. So instead of disempowering them, really empowering them and telling them, look, this is what's going on, but here's the solution, right? And so we don't push them into feeling so bad that they, have no other choice than buying your product, but saying, that there is a positive outcome, and that's the focus, and not so much the negative current state.
Okay, so say you're marketing weight loss solutions, health solutions to somebody.
Right.
How would you change that from you're overweight, you're not getting over the couch, your blood work looks terrible, to something more positive to help somebody not feel horrible about the fact that their health is terrible, their weight is terrible?
Mm-hmm. Well, again, I would focus more on the outcome, so, more on how they would feel if they, had more energy, if they, I wouldn't mention, the weight or anything like that, but if they had more energy, and so kind of this potential future, give more focus on that, and probably what I would do, and I have a friend who works with wellness. It's not about the instant results, especially in that wellness industry, right? I think if we come from this scarcity point of view, doing marketing from a scarcity point of view, then we always promise instant results, right? And that's another thing in marketing, especially in the wellness industry. If you're promising instant results, how can you really stand behind those promises? Like, if you market with integrity, can you really promise that, like the worst kind of marketing is like the before-after results, right? Well, that's not what you want to promise. So maybe rather than promising instant results, talk about the long-term, the sustainability, and what that means for their future, and really, come from this place of abundance and not scarcity.
Do you watch a U.S. show called Shark Tank?
No, but I know of it.
Okay. Well, the other day, they started their new season, and these two gentlemen come on the show, and they're wearing T-shirts that say -Cal, and they're talking about some new weight loss product that they've invented that basically lets fat come out of your body, and they're talking about it being that if you take this, the food you eat will have less calories. And, they're doing their pitch and all of this other stuff, and now they're waiting for the sharks to talk about it. And Mark Cuban went ballistic. Now, this man has invested in a number of health things, as well as several other people on the panel, and he went ballistic. And the other panel members were getting mad at him, and he says, how can you claim that you're taking 100 calories out and this and that? And then they go, well, we're not claiming that. And he said, but all of your marketing that people are going to see says minus cal and 100 calories out and this and that. But now you're claiming that's not truth, that you're not going to claim that. And it really hit me in preparation for this interview about how subtle marketing of a company name or a logo or things like that can really impact how people perceive your business and also how they perceive themselves.
Yeah, so true. And how sneaky of them tend to, say, no, that's not what we're claiming, if their logo or the name of their company clearly says that. I mean, that is, to me, again, such a huge example of marketing without integrity, because they can clearly not, stand behind that promise.
But yet
it's
go ahead.
It's so disempowering to people because it basically makes them dependent on that product, right?
Right.
That's the other thing about hypey marketing. It's like, do you want really to empower your customers and say, here's the solution and you are really the solution? Or do you want them to be dependent on your product for life and basically say, you buy this and you're going to be an addict of our product for the rest of your life?
And, watching that show, obviously there's a lot of editing and different things that are shown that they actually let you see that may not be the full picture. So we really don't know from this short 15-minute segment how much is accurate, how much is not, right? There's a reason why they were allowed to be on the show and they made it through the process. Mm-hmm. But I find it an interesting paradigm, this idea of what are you saying and what are you not saying, but showing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because showing, that's what marketing is, especially in the online world. Whatever, you're saying showing in terms of the logo, but also everything we put out there in terms of, communication via email on our sales pages. If you are claiming something that you cannot stand behind on your sales page, you're basically lying. And so that is hype or false marketing. So, can you really stand behind the promise that you're making on your sales page? Because if you can't, then somewhere you need to rework your copy so that it really shows that you are, you want the best results for your customers. And so you come from this place of empathy and you talk about results that are actually obtainable and not just some kind of promise that nobody, or maybe usually what happens, people are talking about the one client out of 100 that got the certain results, right? 3-month program, and the one client out of 1,000 who took that program turned out to, get a 6-figure business. Of course, you're going to have that testimonial, but you're not going to talk about all the others. So is that really, marketing with integrity?
All right. And with that thought, Sarah, we're going to be heading into the national news. So I'd like all my listeners out there to, while we're on the national news break, and if we're on the podcast, pause this for a moment and think about this question. What does your marketing look like? And what is it saying and not saying? And we'll be right back with more from Sarah Santacroce calling in from Switzerland today. We'll be right back. So let's just kind of recap a little bit about what we were just talking about. Everybody, welcome back. We're here with Sarah Santacroce calling in from Switzerland. We're talking about the new way of marketing that is beginning to take the world by storm and how you can begin to convert or evaluate whether your current marketing methods are working as effectively and whether they fit who you are as a company and who you are as a person. So, Sarah, I want to talk about this conversation we had during the break that perhaps people heard or maybe they didn't hear. This idea, I love this. It's so funny. Thanks, Mr. B, for letting me know. This idea of the scarcity or abundance mindset. And you said that a scarcity mindset can be equivalent to you're chasing after leads versus an abundance mindset, you're looking for more clients. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, and I want to add to the last statement, it's not just more clients, but better clients. So rephrase that into better clients.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah, tons of leads. So that's the scarcity mindset, and I know that quite well because, as you know, in my day job, I'm a LinkedIn consultant, and so on LinkedIn, it's like the big thing is generate leads, right? Oh, can you help me generate leads? And quite a while ago, I publicly said, no, I am not the right person to help you generate leads. I help people build relationships on LinkedIn and not generate leads. And yet there's tons of colleagues and that create these programs that help you generate leads on LinkedIn. And so the way it works, it's some kind of automation where you add hundreds of leads each day, right? And so you end up with this gigantic network on LinkedIn, and they're all leads. What's funny is that even the word lead is so dehumanizing. It's like, what is a lead, really, right? We're talking about people. We're talking about humans, people you then want to become, you want them to become your clients. So how can you make that transition from having thousands of leads to, really working with clients one-on-one? So I really think that there needs to be a shift in the mindset, and it has also to do with this hustle mindset, right? There's some big people out there who have big platforms who constantly share that you need to hustle. In order to be successful, you need to hustle, and that's where this idea of generating leads. The more I hustle, the more I generate leads, then I'm more successful. That's the scarcity mindset, because you feel like you never have enough, so you need to keep. What I see in front of my eyes is this hamster wheel. I got to keep doing more, keep getting more leads. Where if you come from the abundance mindset and you think, I just really need to work with good clients, people who get me, people that I get, that I enjoy working with. I don't need hundreds of leads. All I need is maybe, depends on your business model, but all I need is maybe 10 clients that I work with one-on-one, right? And so all of a sudden, you actually see human beings in front of you, not just this mass of leads that we don't even know what kind of picture to put next to the lead. And so that's the abundance mindset, because we focus on quality rather than quantity, and that really creates a sustainable business. But what you also said, and it's true, if we want to do the non-hypey marketing, not the hustling, not the leads, then it takes more time. And that is kind of where, things start to, we start to lose people, because they're like, oh, but I don't have time. They'd rather send out 1,000 automated messages rather than taking the time to develop a relationship with one or two or three good people. So again, it's back to the scarcity mindset. They think they don't have time. What they don't realize is that the relationships that they build with 10 people, that can create their business for another 5 years, because these good 10 people who are ideal clients will then refer more ideal clients to their business. So what
are some things that my listeners can do right now to begin rethinking their marketing to go from the scarcity to the abundance mindset with their marketing?
I think it starts with awareness. At least for me, it started with awareness. So really starting to pay attention like you did. You said, I see all these emails still with, another sign is wealth. I call it wealth signaling. So email headlines, I see them all the time saying how to get your six-figure business, or this email, this webinar generated 1.7536 million in no time. So this wealth signaling and fear of missing out and urgency and all of this, start paying attention, start becoming aware of these techniques, and start to sit with them and see how they feel for you. Like, does that feel good when you're on the receiving end? And then think about, well, is that something that I want to use in my business? And maybe you never have. Then, great. And maybe you have, and I'm not pointing fingers. I'm instead raising my hand because I have used some of these templates as well because that's what we had access to, right? But become aware. And then the second thing is give yourself permission to say, that's it, I'm not doing it anymore. Even if it has worked to some extent, I'm willing to invest the time and do it differently because I can just no longer stand behind that kind of marketing. That increases the general level of anxiety in our world. And Laura, isn't there already enough anxiety in the world as it is?
Oh, so much so. So what's like a specific thing that they can do? So now they've got awareness, right? My listeners have an awareness that there is another way to market that maybe aligns more for them than what they've been trying to do. Maybe what they've been doing is working, but not as well as they want. They get a client to buy something, but then they're not a repeat buyer. They leave, those kind of things. Mm-hmm. Is there a specific step, and I don't know the answer to this, is there a specific step that they can begin to take, or an email, or the way they change a profile on social media, or messaging that they send out?
Yeah, well, it would be kind of funny if I came out and said, well, here's how to do authentic marketing, right? And then there would be these frameworks with 6 steps, right?
Right.
So, unfortunately, there's no course on authentic marketing. But I think once you've gone through awareness, permission, what comes next is actually figuring out who you are, what you want as the business owner. And that can be, the entrepreneur, it can be a director of a bigger business. So there it's more kind of like what's the business that you want to create long term. And then really sitting with your story if you're an entrepreneur and figuring out what kind of values do I want to bring into my marketing? What are the stories that I want to tell in my marketing? So really becoming, let the marketing become your marketing and not someone else's marketing that you purchased a program for and downloaded all these templates. But let it become your own and bring in the values that are true for you, because then I think then we show up authentically if we really rumble with our story, like Brené Brown says, and then bring more of that into our marketing. So unfortunately there's no really 6 steps, but if you think about, for example, your About page or your LinkedIn profile, if you read a LinkedIn profile where people tell you more about themselves and tell you more about what they value, that's when you connect with them. That's when you feel like, oh, this is not just another LinkedIn consultant, for example. So for me, the idea of not wanting to be known for lead generation is really strong. It's part of my values. No, I don't do that. I resist to do that. And so that's part of my LinkedIn profile. When you think about your About page on your website, rather than just listing all your accolades and universities and all of that, bring in your own origin story. Tell me where you grew up. Tell me a story from your childhood, because that's where you connect with people. And that's how, even if you think about emails, the emails that actually do get the best open rates, that do get the best click-through rates, are the ones that tell stories and that don't talk at people, but kind of talk with people. So it's like, imagine yourself sitting around a fire with your ideal clients and telling them a story rather than, talking at them with your ad content.
Okay.
Is that helpful in any way?
That's helpful in a lot of ways, and of course triggers 10 billion more questions in my brain. One of the difficulties I would imagine when somebody is beginning to shift their marketing is helping get themselves found for this new way. With a lot of the other ways of marketing, the hype marketing and all of that, you just use certain keywords that people are searching for, and then you just start popping up. But I would imagine that it may take a little while to build your new profiles and your new presence for people to find you. How does that begin to work?
I think in terms of the keywords, you're still going to, for example, optimize your website for your competencies, for your keywords. That doesn't change. It's just that the content and the stories that they then find on your website, those are different. So if you have, for example, if you look at the Ben & Jerry ice cream, right?
Right.
If you go to their website, you will find a tab in the menu bar. Can't remember if it says mission or values, our mission or our values. And so they're just a regular ice cream company, you would think, right? But when you go to their website, there's a page that tells you about their values, what they value, so the relationship with their employees, the relationship with the farmers who deliver the milk, the relationship in terms of social responsibility. So they're still an ice cream vendor, but it's the information then on the site itself. So I would imagine their keywords, for them, they don't sell via their site, but the skill is still they are selling ice cream. The skill for me is still I'm a LinkedIn consultant, but it's the stories then on the actual site or on the LinkedIn profile, on the Facebook content. That's what's different.
Because your goal is to find the right leads that convert into clients versus just gathering as many as you can get.
That's right. Yes. You want to work only with your ideal clients so you can drop this marketing mask where you think you have to do marketing like everyone else. Because in the end, you will want a business that brings you joy, and if you work with the wrong kind of clients, then most likely you won't find much joy, and the marketing won't also feel joyful because you constantly feel like you're doing someone else's marketing, or you're having to wear this mask, becoming this other person, this guru, right? Fake it until you make it, where if you only focus on your ideal clients, then you bring in your values, you bring in your stories, and all of a sudden it feels like you're just working with your best friends in a way.
When I had my tech services company, that was something really important. Most of my clients came from referrals from clients I've already had because they knew best how I worked and everything like that. So I networked a lot. It was very in-person networking, but the world today feels like, oh, we have to do internet marketing, we have to do online marketing. And I feel like some of that one-to-one in-person marketing has gone away. What it sounds like is you're merging those two. You're suggesting that we can online market in the way that we human market one-to-one with somebody, say, at a Chamber of Commerce event. Would that be a good way of describing it?
Yeah, that's so true. In my manifesto, the Chancel Business Manifesto, I basically say that we created the internet to be able to connect, we're more humans. So if you look at the Clue Train Manifesto, which was written by the founders of the Internet, they said, we created the Internet to connect humans, right? They wanted to basically have another platform where humans could connect with humans without the companies always interfering and telling us to buy their stuff. Interestingly enough, 20 years later, yes, we can, the Internet is great. I wouldn't have a business. We wouldn't be talking and all of that. But somehow we have used the technology to almost like we took it too far and we lost the human connection. And so it's so true what you're saying is that we always almost want to go back to, more like networking marketing, but all while using technology. I'm not saying let's, not use the Internet anymore, but let's bring that human connection back to marketing, because what happened over the last 20 years is that we created isolation instead of inclusion. So people felt more and more isolated. We created, these big gurus have these webinars with thousands of attendees. There was no human connection. There was the guru who talked to all the attendees, but there was no community. There was no connection between the people. So that's why what I'm saying is like, let's bring the human connection back in. And so, for example, here, why don't we just create calls, like we have this great tool called Zoom, right? Create Zoom calls with our community, but we actually get to talk to each other. Why does there have to be one guru who's, just broadcasting information and all the other ones just, kind of absorb the content? Why not create a community and actually be able to talk to each other? So that's also kind of a reframe that would fit into the more gentle marketing approach.
I love that. I think that's a beautiful idea. Understand who your clients are and talk to them. Just talk to them. I love that. Right. That's what my show is all about, is getting people to talk to each other and listen and meet new people.
Right.
I want to make sure you have a chance to share how people can connect with you, Sarah. I know you have a lot of great stuff up on your website and up on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, so they can go to my website, sarahsantacroce.com, and I also want to invite them to the Gentle Business Revolution. So if any of this has resonated with you, I have a podcast with the same name, and there's also the Manifesto, which you can download. There's no opt-in, just an invitation to read the Manifesto and see if it resonates. So thegentlebusinessrevolution.com. Thank you for the opportunity to share, Laura.
Yeah, absolutely, because for me, having the show, one of the beauties of it is I get to share people that changed my way of thinking. And Lisa's like, you need to talk to Sarah. And I love this idea that we don't have to think the same way, that it's okay to want to be human. It's okay that you haven't been able to latch onto or feel good about the whole online marketing revolution. Yes, people are making millions and millions of dollars doing it, but they're having to constantly work at it because they don't get the repeat customers.
Right.
And to really have your business grow, it is about those repeat customers. It's about the people that keep coming back to you, that refer other clients to you. And I love that you're creating this revolution in business called the Gentle Business Revolution movement. Kudos to you, Sarah, for that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
it's not one size fits all.
Sorry, say that again.
It's not one size fits all marketing, which is what a lot of the people with the loudest voices that has worked for them supposedly want us to believe, that there's only one way to market. And what you've said is there's not. It's very unique to you as an individual.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, because we started with the definition of success, and maybe we can end with that, because that's another question that maybe we can invite listeners to think about. What is your definition of success? And how is it that we are always influenced by other people's definition of success? we always compare ourselves to other marketers or other entrepreneurs. Oh, they are successful because, you see them all the time. They have all these products. Well, maybe your definition of success is not the same. And so are they really successful in your eyes? So think about that.
Well, that's a really good question, too. Are they really successful? Just because you see them everywhere doesn't mean they're successful.
That's true. Yeah, in this online marketing jungle, there's a lot of fake it until you make it, so you never know. That's so true.
Yeah, I mean, we see this all the time. You see stores, like I talked about J.C. Penney at the beginning in the U.S. We've got Sears going out of business, Forever 21 declaring bankruptcy, Bed Bath & Beyond closing. But we always thought, they're so successful. They're out there, they're coupons, they're marketing, they're doing all this other stuff. But we don't really know what's behind the scenes of somebody's online presence.
So true. Yeah.
We only see what they want us to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I feel like what you're saying, Sarah, is show who you really are. We're not saying show you all your failures, but let people who know who you are as a person and attract those people.
Yeah, and you talk about failures. It's not about, showcasing all your failures, but maybe it is about a bit more transparency and vulnerability, because the fake it until you make it, we're kind of, done with that. We want to really see you, the entrepreneur. We want to see the business owner, and we all know that entrepreneurship is not easy, and there's ups and downs. So maybe it is time to share a bit more vulnerability, and that's really what authenticity is. And I'm not saying oversharing, but because there's definitely been a movement of people who just kind of started to overshare too much stuff, right? And it's, you can tell when vulnerability is being abused for marketing purposes. That's when I'm completely pissed off. I'm like, no, that's not the point, right? So you don't want to do that. But yeah, share some of your mishappenings and failures, because that's also what makes us more human.
All right, I love that. And everybody, if you want to find out more about my guest, Sarah Santacroce, calling in from Switzerland today, go to her website, sarahsantacroce.com. Thanks for being here with me today, Sarah.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great. Thank you.
And remember, everybody, the right questions can change your life. So what are you asking today? Have a great day, everyone, and hug someone you love.
You've been listening to It's All About the Questions, starring Laura Stewart. Connect with Laura at it'sallaboutthequestions.com and download a free workbook that will help you ask better questions starting today.